I don't think we're ever gonna be in a society where everything is peaceful. I don't think the world was designed that way. I think there needs to be pain, there needs to be murder, there needs to be chaos, there needs to be tragedy, because it creates balance.
You believe that chaos and murder creates balance?
I do.
Wow.
Because we
what
wouldn't know peace without it. How would you know peace if you don't know what destruction is?
I've had enough history to review that.
Well, right, but it had to occur.
But that was then, this is now.
This is why we live in cycles. If it's too far past your grandparents, it's unattainable.
Disheartening thought process to think that we really need murder and bloodshed to get to a state of peace.
Welcome to another episode of the Out of the System podcast. I'm your host, Leo Climaco. Today's podcast is a little bit different. We're not in our regular studio. We are in the beautiful city of ATL, and we have an incredible guest today named Kennedy. Hi, Kennedy.
Pleasure. Hey, peace and blessings.
Peace and blessings. How are you?
I'm doing well.
What do you do, Kennedy? Tell me a little bit about yourself.
I like to be a catalyst and disturb and disrupt the experience, the human experience, for a greater cause.
Go deeper into that. What do you mean?
Absolutely. I feel that it's important that as a society, we focus on principles and morals and values that are not always driven by materialism or economics, and that we should be fervent about our passions and our work. And as a result of that, I continue to dig deeper into my passion, and that is bettering the human experience for all people, making America great for me.
Okay. Where does this come from? Where does this passion come from? How does it begin?
I would say it's just a natural light within inside, just being a person of spiritual beliefs.
Yeah.
I like to connect with humans, be it if you're a Muslim, you could be an atheist, you could be study Buddhism, whatever that might be. At the end of the day, we are all human beings, and it's important to be able to have a connective experience that's positive, that's nourishing. It's important with positive intentions.
I feel like a lot of people carry around negative intentions.
A lot of using.
Yeah.
A lot of using.
A lot of, what's the word? Self-pleasing, right? And on the backs of others.
Gratification.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's important to really address that in society, Of course, none of us get here by our own bootstraps. It's team building and aligning with the right people on your team. For me and my human experience, I feel as if empathy.
I love how you said that. For me and my human experience.
You like that? You like that? I feel like as if I may have utilized empathy too loosely. Having too much empathy. I heard someone quote before, "Don't let your loyalty make you stupid." And I would also say about empathy.
Don't let your loyalty make you stupid.
Yes.
Okay.
I thought that was very powerful.
Yes, because you can get wrapped up in that.
Absolutely.
Oh.
Very much so. And as a result, it's important to, reset, calm ourselves, but align with people that have purpose. And that purpose may not be seen in the beginning with materialism, but it's about the character, contents of the character of the human being, and the seeds that they sow and the fruits that they yield. And that's what I heavily sow into now, making sure that my empathy for humans and understanding that pain is inevitable. And so as a result of that, working to make sure that I keep that in balance.
What do you mean pain is inevitable? Do you think that it's like pain is required? Is that what you mean? Like pain's a part of life?
Well, pain is inevitable. It's definitely a part of life, for sure. It's a matter of how you cope with it, what type of behaviors, what type of habits.
How do you cope with it?
For me, I do a lot of gardening and a lot of creation.
Gardening, as in like actual planting gardening?
Like planting, creating, making things like floral arrangements, making furniture, any of those things that are creative that come from my gift. It's a natural gift naturally. I'm a scientist, a global clinical researcher, but my natural gift, and all of us have gifts. Every single one of us have a gift. And that's why I advocate for people to utilize their gifts and their passion, because it does make a great impact on how people correspond with people in the world.
What made you want to become a scientist?
Well, it was a lane that was untracked for me, to be honest with you. I like to be in a space where underestimation is the key,
Okay.
No one ever thinks that I'm a scientist. They may think you sing or you dance or and nothing against those fields, but in reality, I like to be able to shake up things again, be the catalyst, right? In my home, we believe whatever you do, don't be stupid.
Talk to me about your upbringing. How was that?
So I was raised by a single parent mother. She was an entrepreneur. And one of the major lessons that she really taught me was count on yourself. Work, never sell your soul. And that's for anything. And I'm grateful for that teaching, if anything.
You're an only child?
I am an only child by my mom, yes. My papa was a Rolling Stone. He was out there in those streets.
Are you close with your half siblings?
I'm close to one of my brothers. He does trucking. He's a country man.
Okay.
He likes to fix things and build things, and he has a beautiful wife and family, and I respect all that he does, and I'm proud of him.
That's awesome.
Yes, Sean. Shout out to Sean.
So tell me, what type of science do you do, and what makes you passionate about it?
So my clinical research focuses on stress reduction.
Okay.
And
very important, very critical.
Very critical, all across the board. We know that comorbidities oftentimes are caused by stress. So you can see that in cardiovascular with high blood pressure, heart attacks, cancer. I'm a 2-time cancer survivor.
Incredible.
A lot of times people are storing suppressed emotions and anger. I was one of those.
Is that what brought you to this research?
No, actually what brought me to stress reduction is seeing how many people are plagued by comorbidities is what brought me there.
Got it.
And really getting to the root of it, right? Like we're not here to want to see people sick. We want to see them thrive and do well. And we need to rewrite the equation of economics, if you ask me.
What do you mean?
Well, there are some constants in the equation of economics when you look at it globally speaking. And when we talk about racism, just an example, when you look at melanated skin across the world, we see a lot of disparities. And that's unfortunate because that's normally the case when it comes to utilizing economics.
I see what you're saying. You're saying that it should be distributed out differently.
Right. Well, and for example, and even if you don't want to coexist with other cultures, right? Mm-hmm. Let's say you have your space and you want to be a homogeneous population, right? So, and that's fine. But what happens when others come and destroy that population, right? Let's say you want segregation. Okay, fine. We give you segregation, right? But when we do those things, or when melanated people do those things, our spaces are destroyed.
Like Black Wall Street.
Seneca Village in New York, which is now known as Central Park, right? Or, when you think about Rosewood, when you think about that just in general, the indigenous people of this land that have been displaced, because we know that all these people didn't come from Africa. I know I didn't come from slave ships of Africa. And this is the disruption that we're speaking of. Let's focus on being human beings because we all bleed, right?
100%.
And we shouldn't have to, my thing is we shouldn't have to get ahead by capitalizing on degradation and capitalizing on holding others back? Why
I
do
mean-
you feel the need to control in that regard?
Oh, because they want power.
And that is
They're
sad.
addicted to power, yeah. Which is why we have wars. Wars are simply a product to produce money.
Absolutely.
That's all it is. It's a money-making machine. It's a $1 trillion business war.
Isn't it sad
Yeah, extremely.
that we lose human souls, innocent blood is shed for money?
Yeah.
And in the word it says, the people perish for the lack of knowledge. But we also know that greed is a sickness. That's
Yeah.
what I say.
And not to get too conspiracy, but it happens here at home also. If you look at California, all those homes being burned.
And now they're
insurance
wanting
companies
to
came in and
bought it up at low
everything.
cost.
Yeah,
Huh.
you know?
And then they said that they wanted to build low-income housing there and
Yeah.
affordable housing,
Right.
right? Well, you know, there was an uproar in the community for
Of
that,
course.
for those multi-million-dollar properties
Of
in that area.
course.
We're not going to depreciate the value,
Yeah.
right?
What happened in Ukraine? They bombed the hell out of it, and then BlackRock came in. Oh, we can help you rebuild.
I want to sit down and talk to the CEO of BlackRock, actually. So, hey, shout out to the CEO of BlackRock. I don't remember your name off the top of my head, but hey, I'm all open for a dialogue about how we can better the human experience for all and still prosper, building healthy families and communities.
That would be a very interesting conversation.
Wouldn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, I think he would dodge it at all costs.
Well, you shouldn't.
He has to respond to shareholders, right? He has an obligation to shareholders contractually. So that's his religion, right? That's his Bible, you know, the Bible of money.
Yeah, and that's sad.
Yeah,
It's so sad.
that's all they care about.
And
Power
I
and
think
money.
and I don't know how we go about changing that narrative, of, how do we get people to be in a more of a space where, it's not the more. More is not the answer. Rest, balance, good human experiences, healthy communication and dialogue, building good skill sets to, deal with pain,
Right.
and also being able to be courageous enough to say I need space, right? Like, let's say, for example, in a marriage, right? A lot of people I find get into these marriages and then they quit, right? But really, in reality, oftentimes they didn't really marry the person out of, sheer love. A lot of times
Right.
there's an underlying things, like
Right.
they may not be comfortable by themselves.
Mm-hmm.
They may not be able to sustain as an adult by themselves, and they
Right.
need an extra little cushion of income to make it happen.
Yeah.
Right?
But they don't want to be alone.
They don't want to be alone, and oftentimes being by oneself, they like to equate being alone with being lonely, and
Right.
we have to dispel those types of myths, right? And then you find out at the end of the day, then here you are ending in divorce, and now you have these children, and it's just what I like to call a shit show.
So I do think that people are waking up, but at the same time, I do feel like the balance is something that's required.
Rest.
I don't think we're ever gonna be in a society where everything is peaceful. I don't think the world was designed that way. I think there needs to be pain, there needs to be murder, there needs to be chaos, there needs to be tragedy.
Wow.
Because it creates balance.
You believe that chaos and murder creates balance?
I do.
Wow.
Because
and
we
what
would know
regard?
peace without it. How would you know peace if you don't know what destruction is?
I've had enough history to review that.
Well, right, but it had to occur.
But that was then. This is now. I don't think
People
we need to.
forget, which is why we live in cycles. People forget. People do, if it's too far, if it's past your grandparents, it's unattainable.
It's a disheartening thought process to think that we really need murder and bloodshed to get to a state of peace. Because when I think about earlier civilizations, let's just say this narrative of Christopher Columbus.
Right.
Right? He came to a space in which people were inviting him to dinner. These people had great intentions, good hearts, wanted to see him eat and, not die of famish. Unfortunately, that wasn't his intentions. And there was no plunder at that time. Those people were communal people that lived, within their tribes, and they collectively dispersed. We didn't hear about all those types of bloodshed and diseases. And there's a society that possibly, we could utilize and say didn't have a lot of bloodshed prior to those types of occurrences.
Yes and no.
Yes and no.
Before we got here, the Native Americans were in war with each other. Several tribes were fighting for control and fighting for power. So there's always been a level of chaos, even amongst the Native Americans.
According to whose narrative? What history?
Their own.
The history books of the natives?
Their own, correct.
Of the indigenous people?
Yes, their
because
own.
we know that a lot of them have been killed away or,
Yes.
washed
100%.
away with mislabeling us as different groups of people, i.e. black. But if you really trace the lineage, you can find, a lot of Cherokee, Choctaw, a lot of tribal Indians.
Have you heard of the concept of the New Earth?
I have not. Expound.
Okay, so we live in a time where we have the most awakened souls. Okay? And have you heard of the New Earth, the concept?
I have not. Expound, please.
So the New Earth is a concept that states that we live in a time where we have the most awakened people, where most people are realizing that there's a system, that there's a matrix, and they're freeing themselves from it. And that energetically, there's going to be a split between the New Earth and the Old Earth. We will all still physically live in the same physical earth, but it's almost as if we're living in two different timelines within the same earth. And the difference is what frequency you're vibrating in, depending on if you're on the New Earth or on the Old Earth. So New Earth energy is love, community,
That's
oneness.
the earth I want to be in.
Correct. Old Earth is selfishness and fear and guilt and jealousy and all those negative energies.
Low vibration.
Correct. But back to the original point that I was trying to say, like, this split could never occur if we didn't have the despair to awaken the ones that woke up to create that division.
That's an interesting concept to think about. I think we've lost so many different things that help us to awaken people as well and provide spaces for vulnerability and brave people to be brave. Like, for example, when you look at ancient societies, a lot of times, like, look at bells. Something as simple as a bell, like sound therapy. I like going to sound bowl therapy, sound healing. That alone is such a healing process.
The tuning forks.
All of those things.
As a podcaster, I needed a place to share my voice and hear other stories. That's how Forge Studios was born. A place created not just for me, but for everyone searching for something more. An environment where as soon as you walk in, you feel the energy and you feel welcomed. We're being seen and heard is part of the experience. A place for entrepreneurs to share their journey, for creators to bring ideas to life, for businesses to grow authentically. A space that values mental health, encourages real conversations, and supports those who turns ideas into impact. Here at the Forge Studios, creativity, culture, and purpose aligns and comes together to help you create something greater. A place where we leave the filters behind and we start expressing ourselves for real. The Forge Studio. Your journey starts here. Your impact starts now.
Even within society, like they used to ring bells, like at the church.
Yes.
At the churches, those bells have frequencies like
Creates a
100
vibration, yep.
111 hertz is a hertz that can help, break up cancer cells, tumor cells. And these are things that, are real, but unfortunately, we have a society that is so driven on economics. And I think that that's a huge problem, huge problem. We need to be focused on building healthy families and communities, respecting one another, being accountable. Those are important concepts. Praying, meditating, resting. For me, like, for example, rest has been a very huge challenge for me in my life because I realized that a lot of my environment was, if you're resting, you're being lazy. It's oftentimes been equated to laziness. If you're resting, if you're being still, if you're not producing anything, it's oftentimes equated to being lazy, especially if you're coming from a background of where survivor mode.
Right.
And that's definitely been my history of survivor mode. It's a great thing that my mom was able to be a single parent and worked hard, 2 jobs, and built her way up, but she struggled,
How do you think society could look or would look if it was more loving, more prosperous, how can we feed and maintain order without the current capitalistic money system that we currently have?
Great question. So I have definitely equated that. One of the things that I believe that we could create is by creating a society where we empower people with their gifts and tools that they already have, and then empower them in those spaces. And then that creates a means to have different outcomes to get revenue. So for example, like myself, if I were to empower a child in the education system that is already gifted in, let's say what I'm doing, design, interior, exterior design, and I just catapult them in that space, then that creates a space for a person to do many things. They could decorate residential, commercial, they could do, and then that also impacts how they correspond with you or
Right.
others.
But you don't think that already occurs today?
Not really. I feel like a lot of people are living a means to an end. They're doing work that they really don't want to do because they don't have the courage oftentimes, or may not have the resources to be able to live adventurous, to be able to create that life. As an entrepreneur, I want to tell you off the rip, don't ever think that you're going to just go full throttle as an entrepreneur without any supplementing of your income. You will sink.
Do you think that being an entrepreneur is for everyone?
I don't think it's for everyone.
Why?
Some people don't like that level of grit that it may require to be able to create ways to get income that may not be seen. As we say in our company, we bring the unseen to the scene. Somebody's
Right.
got to do it.
Right.
Somebody's got to do it. And that's the evidence of faith, the evidence of things unseen.
What do you think the world's going to look like when we have robots, AIs, walking around and taking over every single job?
I just feel like we're living in Terminator. We're on our way to Terminator. That's me.
Because I think
I mean, how they're socially getting us immune to seeing a vehicle that's being, operated with no one driving. I mean, that's socialization. I mean, that's actually programming.
Yeah.
It's actually interesting.
Because we're going to get to a point where I think the only people who are actually going to be working are entrepreneurs. Because workers are going to be replaced by AI and robots.
Well, we need people that are working. We need people that are having human connection.
Now we do.
We need human connection.
In 20 years, we might not.
In 20 years, we may not even be existent based upon the movement that we continue to have in this world.
You think so? I don't think
Absolutely.
so. I think we'll be here.
Well, I know we know that in order to procreate, we need X and Y chromosomes.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And those things are important. And we need, sexuality and all of those great things to reproduce. And without a human population, we may not be there.
You don't think we'll be here in 20 years?
I don't say that we would not be here. I think that the experience would be completely different as far as connectivity, as far as people having souls. I just feel like people are so numb to so much because of the world, of the chaos.
Would you say that someone who was in their 50s, 25 years ago, would say the same thing about this era that we're here today?
That we wouldn't be here?
Yeah, well, that we would be living in a dystopia, soulless. What do you think?
I would say you have some that believe that based upon society and culture.
Right.
When you think about music, and that's another thing that I want to get into is about music, how I like to describe music as a means to calm. It has so much of an impact on basically the human, which in laboratory terms we can consider ourselves animals, right? Mm-hmm. So when you look at music, and that's one of the things that I dispel about the hip hop culture oftentimes, is that it perpetuates degradation. It perpetuates disconnecting. It perpetuates not growing in a space that is conducive to healthy families and communities. Like, for example, I was so saddened to see Malcolm Jamal Warner pass away. My son worked with him on set. And I think about people like Jim Jones, the artist, who's in his 50s, still acting as if he is a child. I consider his behavior foolish. And at some point, you would think you would grow up from thinking that street life and things associated with the streets is acceptable. It's not. We know that from the streets yields death, broken families, and prison. That's the trap that's expected. And to see that type of behavior constantly glorified in our culture is disheartening. But on a greater scope of things, war and bloodshed and greed and capitalism are all concepts that are of greater macro concept. I'm just highlighting that because I want to get into some of those things and, again, be a catalyst, spark some change and push some buttons because I have the courage to be able to say how I feel.
To your point about music, I think the music industry has controlled music so much. I'll give you an example. We're talking about sound healing, right? Yes. And the frequencies and the vibrations, right? They have dumbed down music so much that most songs have the same melody and the same tunes. Meaning, they changed the frequency of the music that's popular. So the music that we listen to doesn't have an effect on us on a molecular level. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So if you listen to Mozart, Beethoven,
correct,
right? These
Fela Kuti.
Exactly. Vivaldi, right? All these guys,
Absolutely.
right? that type of music can have an effect on you on a cellular level.
Absolutely.
Because it's certain hertz, certain frequencies that are being transmitted. And they've taken that out of popular music.
Absolutely.
It's the same tune, the same couple beats that gets recycled over and over and over again.
Like hypnosis.
Basically.
Hello.
Not allowing us to be filled with that God frequency that music can provide us.
I love that. God frequency. Touching in, tapping into the higher levels of the chakras.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely.
So to your point, right, where hip hop got to, right, it was almost inevitable. Just because they took the hertz, they took the meaning out of the rhythm, out of the beat. So the next point was to just add lyrics and just make it what it was, you know?
And to see that so many, in order to get ahead because of the disparity within their community, they see that as the only means or a way out. And there are so many options to explore outside of those things. And that's why I wanted to say, when you asked me how did I get into science, well, it's a track that many don't take, really, to be honest with you. I mean,
true.
Who wants to really sit and study and read? And I mean, a lot of people don't even want to sit down and read a book, let alone, study physics, molecular science, microbiology. It's no easy fate, especially if you don't come from a family who has that education background. I didn't have that in mind, so
it almost seems like you were completely repulsed by what you had seen growing up and said, no, I want the complete opposite. I want that.
Absolutely. So thank God I had an experience of my education was a little different. So we lived in a inner city community. I lived in a home structure, thank God. I mean, not knocking anyone else's home structure, but at least we did have a stable home setting. I never saw lights turned off, gas, or I never, was hungry for food, or, and I respect that. And that's some great things that I always give credit to my mom about,
That's awesome.
that she did set a standard of never selling your soul for crumbs or to get ahead. And I take that same principle even within my work experience. I don't need to come up off a man. I don't need to come up off anyone to get ahead, because I live in the spirit of abundance. For the Most High will align and put that in my space. But I also have to do the work. I also have to have strategy. I have to have discipline. I have to sacrifice. And most importantly, I must not ever give up. You must never give up.
Just for clarity, when you say you never want to come off a man, what do you mean exactly? What does that mean?
So for me, and again, we talk about these concepts, but oftentimes, when you are a person that's responsible, I'm not an independent woman, I'm a responsible woman. There's a difference. I'm not independent where I say I don't need help, because I need help.
Right.
Now, do I have troubles asking for help? That has been an area of growth for me, absolutely. But when someone cares about you or they're in your space, they understand those things. And someone will say, well, where can I help you? Mm-hmm. What do you need help in?
Yes.
When someone cares and has that kind of mindset. So I often advocate for women to, develop themselves so that they have things to offer. You don't have to sell your body. You don't have to, get what, as 50 would say, one of my favorites, 50 Cent. Shout out 50.
I was just thinking about him too during this podcast.
Shout out 50,
Shout out 50.
Shout out 50. We love you, 50.
He's one of the realest.
I love that about him.
I was thinking about him while we're talking about hip hop, thinking that he's one of the artists that poured his heart out into his music, right? He took his struggle, he took his pain, and he found a way out, and he found a way to talk about it without glorifying it, in a sense of yes, he has his songs, but I think that at that time that was required for him to make an album and be popular. But his real true songs, like Many Men, and it really,
I like Hustler's Ambition is my favorite.
That one also, it's a great one. Great one also. when it rains, it pours.
Yes.
He has so many good ones
I just
that
think
are real.
real things. Real. I love that about his
Yeah.
spirit, the ability to be candid and direct. You know, when a woman is candid and direct, it's often seen as aggressive behavior.
Yeah.
Or we're not even going to those. We're not even going. We don't even buy into those things. You know, we're just speaking candid, speaking real, honest, and being courageous. You know.
What's Kennedy's point of view on OnlyFans?
I think it's something that needs to be done away with, but we know sex sells, right? You shouldn't have to exploit oneself to get ahead, right? I don't need to sell you sexuality, you know. I do like to, as TLC would say, be sexy, classy, cool. I would love to bring that back. The hell with the 304 culture and the 402s or whatever they calling it. That's, no, we need to bring back, you know, class and etiquette and poise. It's a time, and really in reality, let's just say it's a time and place for it. It's not everywhere you're going to be turned up. Don't get me wrong. You know, we've all lived and learned. I've had my turn up moments too. But
what do you think it's worse? The fact that all these girls are making all this money, or the fact that there are so many guys paying these girls all this money?
I think both, to be honest with you. I think it's unfortunate that we live in a society oftentimes where men don't embrace women that are really could contribute, and maybe their mindset and how they go about approaching it with in those spaces. We were just speaking earlier about, you know, my great friend was saying how he doesn't date lawyers, or he doesn't date certain quality of women or types of women because they may not be able to listen, or
right.
But again,
they have a stronger male energy.
I wouldn't even say male energy. I just think that they haven't maybe been coached or been provided a space where they can relax and disarm their armor.
Okay.
And so when you see that, maybe be more show, well, what is it that I could do? Or maybe present it in a more of a fashion. But we don't tell anyone anything. And that's the main concept I really want to dispel out here in the world. When we're speaking to one another, we're asking someone to do something.
Right.
You don't tell me to do anything. That alone in itself yields a whole different type of energy that's not going to be conducive to love and 100%. Kindness.
And I also think that limits his pool, because he can actually find a psychologist that he might fall in love with.
Absolutely.
And
that can have him unlock.
Right. Have him head over heels.
And unlock.
Shout out to you, my friend. You know who you are.
You know who you are, our friend.
It's funny. But yeah, it's true.
Yeah, I encourage, you know, people to do team building. That's it, you know. No one makes it alone. Of course, you've got to get yourself together and have individualism and bring your skills and your gifts, but also understand the importance of team building. And I think that that's something that we need to focus on more in our relationships. That woman may be guarded, you know, like for me in my regard, a lot of my responsibleness comes from feeling like I can't count on anyone. You know.
Why is that? They've let you down?
Well, you know, let down. You don't want to be overbearing. Like my mother says, don't wear your good card out, you know. Don't want to keep asking and asking, you know.
Don't wear your good card out.
You hear me?
I hear you.
You know, you have to show reciprocity, be able to reciprocate, but grace, and show grace. But it's a fine line between grace and being stupid too.
Why is that?
Because how do you measure if you're being foolish or are you showing grace? How do you measure that?
By others' reactions?
It's the ambiguity that has me troubled, as Pac would say. Shout out to Tupac, my favorite rapper of all times. Great lyricist.
As a podcaster, I needed a place to share my voice and hear other stories. That's how Forge Studios was born, a place created not just for me, but for everyone searching for something more. An environment where as soon as you walk in, you feel the energy and you feel welcomed. Where being seen and heard is part of the experience. A place for entrepreneurs to share their journey, for creators to bring ideas to life, for businesses to grow authentically. A space that values mental health, encourages real conversations, and supports those who turns ideas into impact. Here at the Forge Studios, creativity, culture, and purpose aligns and comes together to help you create something greater. A place where we leave the filters behind and we start expressing ourselves for real. The Forge Studio. Your journey starts here. Your impact starts now. You're like the third person I hear like referencing Pocket in the last couple of days.
His soul resonated with so many around the world.
At a very young age too.
22, 23.
He died at what, 26, I think? 25, 26 he died?
Yeah, less than that, 25, I think.
Yeah. It's crazy.
And he's still prevalent today.
Yeah. That's crazy.
But I just want people to just be more considerate, you know. Consideration takes you a long ways. It does. Being considerate. Considerate in my thought process. If you're in a relationship, how would this make my partner feel if I were to make this type of choice or decision? You know, that level of consideration and respect at the minute.
To your point, I heard a pastor say once that the only commandment that's required is to treat your neighbor the way you would want to be treated.
Correct.
That's the only commandment that's ever required. If you follow that, you'll live a good life.
I call it just the golden rule.
Yeah.
Do unto others as you would have them do unto you.
Yeah.
But, you know, like they said, hurt people hurt people. And when you think about a dog that may have come from an abusive environment, you try to love that dog, over love them, or over water them, and what do? They'll bite you. Mm-hmm. So, but that comes with maturity and living and learning, right? Because, you know, you don't come out knowing everything, and that's a part of the pain cycle, right? And that's what got us to the stress reduction models, just schooling stress reduction models with our company. So, yeah.
Talk to me about stress.
So, as I mentioned earlier, it's a killer. You know, it's over, I think, 65% of reasons why people go to the doctor, really at the halt of it. And then you start to identify all these different comorbidities that could be impacting one through their behavior process. So they may have, again, high blood pressure, cancers. You may see, and then how they respond to the stress. So, for example,
Panic
attacks. A lot of people may be doing, like, I highly tell people don't drink energy drinks, you know, because they're constantly going, chasing after more, or not even more. It could just be trying to keep up so that they don't drown, right? Because this big, beautiful bill is doing a lot of great things in America these days. Shout out Trump, you know, I'm always here to be in the room with you, Trump. You know that.
How can we best manage stress?
I always say to rest. Find your peace. Find one thing that you enjoy to do daily, and do it. Make a conscious decision to do that every day. One thing that you enjoy, consciously.
That doesn't hurt nobody.
That doesn't hurt anyone. Exactly. Not even yourself. We always talk about don't hurting anyone else. But let's take it back internally and focus on self, right? As Edgar Allan Poe would say, to thine own self be true. Right? And so we have to focus on self, and that part is resting, being still, taking times to be in silence. I am often shocked at how many people can't sit and be still and silent
like
for a great period of time.
Yeah.
without becoming anxious or fidgety or any of those things.
Being consumed by the thoughts, not allowing it to be quiet.
Exactly. Not allowing your mind to just rest.
Yeah. Most people.
Always racing. Most people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I heard this once that we think it's normal to consistently have this dialogue in your head, right? But if we see someone who's talking to themselves, we think they're crazy. But because it's in our head, we don't think it's crazy.
Isn't that something? Ludicrous. Literally. Yeah. It's interesting. Even just with, visualizations, like how you were mentioning about 50 earlier about how his music was intentional about not glorifying to some degree, but in reality, even I'm challenging people to do better with what we visualize. Like, let's just take the show BMF, right? Here we are yet again perpetuating the same stereotypical concepts just to get money, to get ahead, but yet in reality, these young people are seeing that as something that they only have an option for. Can we make movies and shows that really kind of, get back to, maybe like the Huxtables? I mean, and looking at the Huxtables, people thought that was unreal, right? Or Different World or things like that. Those are the shows that I kind of grew up watching. But
they don't get approved anymore, unfortunately.
They don't get approved anymore.
No, it's like the music.
It's like the music.
They took anything out that allows you to evolve and mature.
And that's sad. And that's sad.
Yeah.
That's so sad.
I saw a reel the other day, maybe two, 3 weeks ago. A guy was at the movie theaters, and every single new movie that was out was a remake or a sequel to something that happened 20 years ago.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So no creativity.
Correct.
No innovation.
Exactly. Just recycle.
I think we have to stop shunning people that create and challenge the norms, You don't need to kill them off, And it's and oftentimes that's the goal, to create fear in people, right? Right? To keep them suppressed.
Well, they're scared of the awakening. They're scared of the unlocking. Because they know once enough people have awoken, there's no going back. Right? Once you tip that balance, there's no going back. So they're scared to get there. They're scared that the many will overthrow the few.
Well, again, when you govern yourself with low vibrational thought processes and you don't have at the root of your spirit, the decency of the character and the golden rule of doing unto others as you would want them to do unto you, then you see these outcomes, these negative outcomes. These aren't positive outcomes. These are negative outcomes that, as you can see, have a negative impact on children, families, and society, And we've just got to do better, man. And that's why we, at Just Schooling, we focus on making sure that we create programs, we work with legislators, we work with political officials. I'm moving towards getting into teaching, which I've always enjoyed doing, touching the minds of people and learning from them as well, because it's an exchange.
Yeah.
Even as a parent, I find that my son teaches me so many things.
Same.
You too, with your children?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's incredible
Yeah.
how much they can teach you.
Yeah.
You know, it really is.
And unexpectedly, a lot of times, like for example with my son, I raised my son full time, and like just giving an example, using my own testimony as a space out of my unhealthy co-parenting experience, despite giving my son's father every opportunity to do the right thing and show grace, right? Give you the opportunity to name your own price. How many women do that? Give you the opportunity to set your own date for your schedule. I don't want to see you struggle. I want to see you do well, regardless to if you're with me or not with me.
Right.
you know. Of course, parenting isn't just financial. It's also spending time, investing in
Probably
them.
the most important part.
The very most important part,
Yeah.
right? You know, and to see someone negate those responsibilities despite, you know, giving them every opportunity to do so, even going before judges, you know, not wanting to put you in that space and then being said, you know, do you want to lock them up? No, I actually want them to get training and become a greater human being, right? But it can be disheartening.
Right.
And it can turn you into a different animal. But out of that pain, out of that experience, I've birthed so many great things. And out of that, we're working with programs in schools to build more spaces for healthier co-parenting environments, to reduce stress and trauma within children. So I'm grateful for that. Did I want to go through that? Hell no. But as a result of that, I was able to catapult myself into a different space now. Now, did my speech and my communication, could that improve? Absolutely, but it takes two. But when you lose respect, you know how that goes. I'm at a space of there's no respect on the board anymore.
Right.
So you get talked to how you get talked to. You understand? But the best thing is just disconnection. If you find your space, what they say, as a child, if you don't have anything nice to say, what? Don't say it at all.
A lot don't get that concept.
I'm getting better.
Yeah.
Right? We all have to grow.
Yeah.
I like to make sure that I say just because I'm strong in one area doesn't mean that I'm great in something else. So never put me on a pedestal to think that I'm just this perfect human being. I never want to put myself in that space when I'm on camera, and that's why I always make that announcement, because I want you to see me as a human being, flawed human being that's living this human experience growing.
Why is that? Why is that important to you?
I feel that there's so much pressure put on people on cameras and celebrities and people that are before masses of people. I've actually shunned from the cameras, to be quite frankly.
Why? Because of that pressure?
Because of that pressure, you know. I don't want to deal with that nonsense. I don't want to run for any political office. As much as people try to put me in that space, I just rather advise. I don't want to deal with that level of scrutiny. And then too, you know, I'm a realist. So, you know, one day you may get the educational side, and then another day you may get a whole nother person, you know. I'm human too. So.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I thought about going political. I don't want anything to do with that.
Yeah.
I can be more effective on this side.
That's right. And it's unfortunate. I mean, you know, I feel sorry for people that are often put in those spaces. You find them higher on, you know, drugs, alcohol, and that all has to do with suppression, being judged all the time, being, you know, put in these spaces as if you can't make mistakes, you know, like you can't change your life around. That's why I'm all about the second chance programs, you know.
Yeah.
A lot of times people are over-criminalized. We know melanated people are over-criminalized, you know.
I love how you say melanated people.
Absolutely. That covers a great population of
Yes,
people.
no, it's great, because it's technically what it is.
Melanin. Carbon. On the periodic table.
You're so smart.
Oh, don't say that. I'm always learning.
What has science done for you?
Freed me. Right? It's freed me. I enjoy science. I've had to have tutors. I've had to go to study groups. You know, it's not been an easy fate. You know, it's been work. Lots of work. There's been many times I thought about, man, I could so real quick go pose on this mag. When in my 20s, I could have been in major magazines, half nude, you know, for a check, and probably been way up by now because I would have invested it a little differently. Because I'm not really concerned about Chanel bags and things of that nature. I'd rather empower, you know, someone that makes things that's custom. And, you know, if that's what you're into, that's what you're into.
Why don't you have a YouTube channel?
Again, I like my privacy.
I hear you.
Mm-hmm.
But how many Black little girls who want to be scientists are looking for a role model like you.
But I'm not a black girl. I'm an indigenous woman to this land. I'm melanated. We're not going to use those colloquials to describe who I am. I'm a human being. I want all people to see who I am, not just a young black girl.
That's fine.
As you may say.
Right. But the YouTube will give you the exposure to everyone. I
don't need that exposure. I like to be behind it. Like, I'm like the Ella Baker of her time. If you're not familiar who she is, go look it up. It's one of my favorite responses to when you don't know something. Go look it up. Go do the work.
It's very interesting. Tell me the role that she played.
She played a very political role in the civil rights movement, which she did a lot of the writings for the leaders during the civil rights. She was really the strategic strategist behind the scenes to help coordinate a lot of the movement. And so for me, with my background, I'm all about strategy, about planning and how to get things done effectively, yielding positive outcomes for everyone. Now, either have no will, hey, cast them away, right? But, I'm just not with not doing anything. Don't sit up here and tell me, like the young lady told me the other day, she was saying, I'm just going through, hell, we're all going through mental health issues, you ask me. If I had time to sit down and soak about all of the journey, I could be a mental crash out. But can't let those fates.
Ain't no time for that.
Yeah, no time for that. I'm a 2-time cancer survivor. I just beat cancer last year, 2024 leap year. But it was necessary. Thank you. Like Les Brown said before, it was necessary. And I'm grateful at this junction. Still been a journey, still been a process.
How far apart the two cancers?
So I'm a young breast cancer survivor, 31 the first time, 41 the second time. I'm now 42.
Wow, 10 years apart.
10 years apart.
That's crazy.
My son was conceived on chemotherapy, a miracle child.
Wow.
411. He comes to bring the information for sure. 411. What's the 411, Mary?
Wow. Have you thought about why it happened again?
Stored anger and resentment.
Got it.
Not releasing and letting go.
Have you?
Oh yeah, I feel, and that's the thing, when you start to let go, like at this space now, because I take more time to decompress and relax and rest, and I don't beat myself up when I'm doing nothing. I feel lighter. My body feels lighter. My spirit feels lighter. I just feel lighter tremendously.
I know what you mean.
And then when things don't align anymore, I don't feel the need to try to, as they would say back in the day, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink.
Correct.
My natural innate feeling is I want to see all people do well. There's no reason for me to be a crab in a bucket against you. Because when you live in the spirit of abundance, you understand that the Most High blesses us, work will bless us, and the universe will bring and draw nigh those molecules, molecular connections that flow like Gandhi or, flowing like water. Because we are made of water. And those molecular beings start to connect on a cellular level.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Really more in my home space, teaching.
As a podcaster, I needed a place to share my voice and hear other stories. That's how Forge Studios was born. A place created not just for me, but for everyone searching for something more. An environment where as soon as you walk in, you feel the energy and you feel welcomed. Where being seen and heard is part of the experience. A place for entrepreneurs to share their journey, for creators to bring ideas to life, for businesses to grow authentically. A space that values mental health, encourages real conversations, and supports those who turns ideas into impact. Here at the Ford Studios, creativity, culture, and purpose aligns and comes together to help you create something greater. A place where we leave the filters behind and we start expressing ourselves for real. The Ford Studio. Your journey starts here. Your impact starts now.
Moving our products. So I've been considering thinking about teaching about sexuality.
Okay, tell me why.
Because I would like to really get into some deep concepts about men and women and connectivity and intimacy and how, like, for example, oftentimes sex is utilized as a stress reliever and for both male and women.
Right.
And as a result, some of those behaviors can be detrimental. You can become a sex addict, or you may have loose concepts about sexuality. And I think it's just a great topic to talk about. I feel as if I could really do some great justice in that space.
Would you do a podcast or a YouTube channel?
He's really trying to get me on this podcast YouTube channel. I do guest appearances and guest lectures.
Okay.
That's
start.
really interesting.
It's a start.
Yes. Public speaking, some guest lecture appearances, some guest appearances. Yeah.
You should look up Susan Branton. I interviewed her a couple months ago. She is known as the sex queen. She's in her late 60s. And she's been teaching about sex for over 30 years.
Oh, yeah, definitely gotta check her out.
Yes.
She'd be a great mentor.
She came into my studio and she brought a duffel bag full of toys. And she laid it out on my table. And we had a whole segment where she explained what every toy is and what it does and how it can please. Yeah.
But I also want to get into things like male birth control.
Oh, she gets into
all those kinds of things, like, you know, and those are other things, like, you know, are people getting relationships for fruitful, meaningful relationships? A lot of times, in some cases, women get into relationships because they want the man, and then they trap him with a child, and all these different things, you know. It's such a sad situation. And then when you see a dream deferred, when you're really trying to do it the righteous way, or
right. But I feel like none of that is really like a relationship issue. It's more of like a you trauma issue, that, right? You haven't dealt with something and that you're just, what's the word? Projecting it onto that other person.
I like that. I like that definitely.
Right? If you're a woman and you're trapping a man, like you're getting pregnant to try to force a man to stay with you, there are bigger issues than just that relationship.
But then also the man has to have accountability, right? And so that's the other piece that I often look at. Because there's no accountability with sexual behavior with men, oftentimes, there is oftentimes this misnomer or these burdens placed on women as if they're the only contributing factor. But you knew you were ejaculating in this woman with no condom. You knew you were getting with someone that really didn't have skill sets and weren't responsible. So no, I don't feel sorry that she's coming for your money now. But I don't believe in traditional marriage anymore.
Hold on. In men's defense, which is not a good defense, a lot of times we don't know.
Don't know what?
Who that woman is. Because half the time we just met her that night.
Dang. But I'm
being real.
But that's the level of discipline.
Half the time we just met her that night. We have no idea what this woman is.
But that's the level of parenting and fatherhood. And
that's happening.
That needs to occur. That's not happening.
Right.
And then we get in these spaces, and then you're saying, well, oh, she tried to take me for my money, or now I'm getting a divorce, or, you know, all of these different things. But really, in reality, you were entertaining someone that really you felt maybe supported your ego or was more able to go along to get along.
Right.
I call it the go along to get along.
Right.
I don't want to go along to get along.
I call it like eating with your eyes. You know, like when you eat with your eyes and you put too much on your plate and you can't finish it? Similar, right? You go to a club, you see a girl, and all you see is
the lust.
Correct.
We call that lust.
Mm-hmm.
Lust.
Mm-hmm.
Like someone may look at you and see your eyes and then get captivated and
hypnotizing. You're so funny. Hey, it can happen. It can happen. It's not out of the realm of possibilities.
It surely isn't, huh? Just like others may get captivated by other physical aesthetics.
Exactly. Now, being captivated is one thing. Now, what are you going to do with it? What are you going to do
That's
about
it.
You know what I mean?
Can you sustain it?
Right. You control it.
Right.
Be disciplined.
Can you sustain it? See, it's one thing to get something. It's another thing to sustain it.
It's true.
Right? It's another thing to get to building your company, but can you sustain it?
Mm-hmm.
It's another thing to,
make money. Can you keep it?
Hello. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, and these are things that, are oftentimes, as we said, watered down, that are not examined in society. And then it's not even glorified. Like when I look at, like, for example, like a lot of the shows, like, a lot of fighting all the time, a lot of gossip.
Mm-hmm.
And then our society rewards that behavior, right? I see these people getting proclamations and I'm thinking, this woman is not upholding what I would think a woman should uphold to teach women. I mean, you're a real housewife and you ain't even really a wife.
Or a housewife.
And what is a housewife? How are you, what skill sets are you bringing to edify a kingdom?
Right.
But again, men don't really choose those types of women.
No.
They are, attracted to the lust. And then they're upset about, when things are difficult for them. And I hear this all the time. And can you imagine being played with that? I hear seeing that all the time. It's crazy.
Yeah. It's insane.
It's insane. So at Just Schooling, we focus on developing programs, learning modules, creating therapeutic spaces for people in their commercial, residential. We train leadership on detox, on rest, relaxation, creating those spaces in work environment when people have therapeutic outlet and still are able to yield outcomes. Taking a break, from that space and having a space, even in your workspace, is critical. It's critical. So we have learning modules, educational tools that we sell, and we also have products. You can check us out at justschooling.org.
Incredible, Kennedy.
Incredible too.
Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for doing what you do. Thank you for showing people that you can create your own lane and your own path and be extremely successful and be authentic while doing it.
Shout out to Dr. Lowe, Jeff Lowe, he reminds me of the character from Finding Forrester, Sean Connery.
Yeah.
That movie is very great example of my life.
Really?
And a woman version of it. Yeah, absolutely. And he always said to me, because, he was the first teacher that gave me an F in my entire life. D. I was an unpassing grade. I was devastated. But from that, I used to stay after school and write with him and type. And I'm so grateful because he taught me a word that is, he said that it would be who I am in the world. And he said I would always have a liminal position in society. Liminal. And it literally means to be caught between the lines. It's a typewriting word. And I feel as if my human experience is a liminal experience because I'm able to connect with all people all over the world globally. And I'm grateful. It can be a lot to carry. Mm-hmm. And like I say, my new quote is, just because I carry it well doesn't mean it's not heavy. And so I just want to...
I feel that.
You feel that, right?
I feel that one, yeah.
Yeah.
You do.
Because, when you are responsible and you have to go out and put that armor on and keep going
I
despite
get it.
health elements, despite being sick. Thankful for my village. Shout out to my best friend Danielle, Chi, my mom, my cousin Raymond, Anita. Shout out to the people that have really shout out to Barbara Ann. Shout out to my family. Shout out to just people that have been there in the gaps. And you can never forget that.
No.
So shout out to you and your family.
Thank you. Shout out to you as well. Kennedy, let everyone know, look at that camera over there, where they can find you.
So you can find us at justschooling.org. You can Google us. We're on LinkedIn. We're on Instagram at justschooling. And as we say at our company, we bring the unseen to the scene. Somebody's got to do it. So make sure you go out and support us. Our proceeds go to support cancer families, not just patients. We support patients and families.
That's awesome.
And it doesn't matter what type of cancer you have. We want to make sure that you have the resources to empower yourself and to relax and rejuvenate and restore. This is the season of restoration.
God bless you.
Ashe.
Incredible story from someone who chose her own path and became everything she wanted to become. She became a scientist. She became a mother. She became someone who consistently put herself first and other people's first and is succeeding because of it. Follow Kennedy, give her a like, subscribe, hit that bell notification, and we'll see you guys next time.